Okay, then welcome to today's Orchestration meeting. Christopher, it's the first time for you in the Orchestrator meeting, right?
Yes. Hi, everyone.
Want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Yes. Hi. So my name is Christopher, and I'm working for SUSE. I worked for SUSE for about 6 years, but I've been working on HA, so Pacemaker and Chorus Inc., if you're familiar with those. But I decided to jump over to the Ceph team, and I'm going to be helping out mostly with containers and Rook to begin with, but probably some orchestrated stuff and other things as well. So yeah, hi.
Welcome. Good move.
Thank you.
Yeah, on the agenda. Joshua, your PR, your drive group PR.
Right. I don't know if people actually already know that this exists because people were requested to do a review like an hour ago. So
Yeah, I think last week it was more of an idea.
right. But since I implemented this already, it kind of only took me a day to rewrite this thing and copy paste it more or less. So shall I quickly maybe explain what it is before
Yeah,
people
sure,
read
go
it,
on.
or okay? So so there's this concept of drive groups, which probably you all know, and if there is a specification in the orchestrator land that basically so that's it's an implementation, but it's not a complete implementation. It's more like a dummy. And so in Deep C, in the project that SUSE uses, we actually implemented that one and also, well, successfully use this in day-to-day operations. And conceptually, it's the wrong place. So it actually should go one layer above, which is the volume, because when you write one of the specifications, one of those drive groups, it basically just translates those abstract drive groups into a list of drives, which then get passed to Ceph volume. So logically, it actually really makes sense to put this into Ceph volume, and that's what this pull request does. Move the logic in Ceph volume, and that's all there is.
Yeah, and a drive group can cover things like use all drives on a given host, or
Sure. Yeah.
Or use 8 drives on that specific host, a specific number of hosts I think is implemented, or much more complex stuff.
Yeah, so you can say use all disks with that and that vendor or that and that model implemented using substring matching, or you can do size matching, high size, low size, size ranges. You can say give me transfer all devices with model Samsung, but only up to an amount of 5, and then the rest of them should be assigned to database and write-ahead logs and all that stuff. Yeah. Right. That's basically all it does.
Yeah.
There is one thing though. It currently, when it's implemented only in Ceph volume, there needs to be one layer on top of it, because you would need to write drive groups for every single host. So that's fine, all. So if you have like uniform hosts, but when you have different setups and different different kind of devices on different hosts, then you would need to write different drive groups for all of them and copy them over and stuff like that. So that's why we should actually implement something on the orchestrator level or above or below, I don't know. That's to be discussed, where we have like one central drive group and that then actually feeds the host level Ceph volume command.
I wonder how we can apply this to Rook.
Does Rook have probably the notion of something like an inventory? So when you ask Rook, give me the hosts that are available. Is that a thing?
It's even more elaborate. So you can specify in the Ceph cluster custom resource things like views all drives on a given host, which is a subset of what a real drive group can support. And there is another proposal that adds.
To answer your question, Rook doesn't have a mechanism for the user to like request a list of hosts or devices. It does all of that internally, but there's no way for the user or some outside application to request that information from Rook.
Isn't it in a config map stored? So I think Ceph Orchestrator inventory works in a Rook provisioned cluster by querying a config map.
I mean that may be true, but there's no way to like request an updated version specifically.
Yeah.
I'm also not certain that that config map should be considered like a public interface.
Well, it's still not a big problem because then again you could implement that thing that the central drive group kind of thing in Rook itself and not in Ceph, which is maybe the right approach. I haven't really thought about that. So in DeepC we have that kind of central mechanism, which is then the salt master, and that basically has also this targeting attribute, and that distributes then the drive groups. So, and the same could be done for Rook. But the thing that we save here is that we have a central place of that drive group logic. So the translation between the specification and the drive matching. It's, even though we can't make it happen inside Ceph exclusively for all of our orchestrators, we can still utilize the benefits.
I think it's a great thing to have.
Yeah, just to comment one thing, if each of the orchestrators should should be compiling or analyzing the drive group specification in order to set to issue direct commands to the Ceph volume, maybe we are in a risk that we can do different kind of interpretations in each of the orchestrators. So I think that well, probably the right place in order to implement the interpretation of the drive group specification is Ceph volume. I think that I don't understand to move this logic to each orchestrator, because we can have problems of different kind of interpretations.
No. So the logic stays in Ceph volume. So the interpretation of the specification and the drives, that it will stay in Ceph volume. So that's the thing where we moved it, and that's perfectly fine. But there is one thing that when you have 100 nodes, that you have to copy over the specification to each and every host and then execute it from there. You need one layer above where you can actually target different hosts with only one specification, with only one file.
Okay. Okay.
So the translation, the identification doesn't happen on the orchestrator level, but will still happen on the Ceph volume level.
Okay. Okay, understood.
That's the idea. So nothing is set in stone there, but you know.
And
Yeah,
this,
what would be nice to have a review from Travis or from someone really dedicated to Rook.
And I think I also I created a documentation for it, not a very long documentation though, but at least something. And the pull request description is also quite expressive, I would say. So, but still, if you have any questions, just feel free to add a comment to the pull request requesting more documentation or something.
Okay, any more comments on that pull request? Okay, the next topic is Python Common, which is a Python package that can share code between all components of Ceph, including Ceph volume, if it imports it and it's properly backported, which is going to be hopefully a key component in the SSH orchestrator, for example, or other orchestrators if they want to implement or import code. And of a bootstrapping utility to bootstrap cluster. Any comments?
probably we need to to check the code. So
Yep, perfect. Another thing, Kifa, working from Asia, is working on a dashboard integration of the orchestrator interface into the dashboard, which will then work for all orchestrators. I think he's going to start with host, but I'm not really sure. Let's discuss this on Wednesday. Okay, do we have any other topics today? Something from the Rook world?
Yeah, couple of PRs. So I think last week we merged, or maybe the week before, I don't remember, the PVs on cloud platforms spec. So we can attach EBS volumes to instances, and then we can deploy and use those devices to deploy the Rook cluster. So we merged the initial design. Noah is working on monitors placement across availability zones, and yeah, tries to honor proper placements when we train cordon nodes for maintenance and things like this. Blaine has a PR, the CMD reporter, I remember correctly, yeah, which is still in review. And we still have PRs for upgrades, external cluster, pending. So yeah, that's where we are in the Rookland, I guess. If anyone wants to add anything, feel free.
Nothing. Okay, that was short. Then, one thing, Paul Kastner sent a mail to me regarding some integration of some additions to the Manager Rook module into monitoring storage classes in Prometheus. I think that is something that we might be able to discuss on Wednesday. Okay, then see you on Wednesday or next week.
Okay. Goodbye.
All right, thanks.
Bye.
Have a good week. Bye bye.